Good morning there, YouTube. Tie-Dye Picker 1971 here. Got the tragic news yesterday that Kyle Busch had passed away at 41 years old. That's hard to believe. Kind of let you in on all the details. Kyle Busch, regardless of what you think of him, he was a class act as a man. He's really a class act individual. I got to meet him a couple times at my local short track. My local speedway here near where I live at is Southside Speedway. It's kind of up in the air now if it's coming back or not. We got a couple guys really pushing to try to bring it back. Full of rich history at Southside Speedway. All the greats have come through there that's about at one point or another. And it was Denny Hamlin's home track as well. So what I know about Kyle Busch, well, when Denny got into cup racing, one of the things he started doing was for the Denny Hamlin Foundation. He started having a short track showdown here in Virginia, right at Southside Speedway, for the first ones. And it was just a late model stock car race. And the first year it featured Denny only, and then the second year it came out, Kyle Busch came out with Denny to run in that one, and Joey Logano. Joey was just starting out with Gibbs Racing at the time, and I worked as a tech official. As one of my roles I played at Southside Speedway 3 years. I went from a fan to a crew member to a driver to a regular track official to a tech official. Well, anyway, with that being said, Kyle Busch came out for the second Denny Hamlin short track showdown and race with us. And he was driving Dean McRae's car. Dean was out of Dinwiddie, Virginia. And that late model, it had not been ran in right many years, and it was probably a 6th to 10th place car in the car of fields that we had. The field of cars we had, he had Hippie Struzza working with him on it, and of course they had Gibbs shocks on the things and everything. But Kyle come out there and ran some practice for a few hours in the afternoon, and then come time for the event and stuff, everything, he went out there and won that thing. And that's something you just don't do on the toughest short track in the South, not unless you're a great driver. And it really spoke to me, and Tommy Lee, who's much older than I am, was kind of a head tech official. It really spoke volumes of the kid's talent they had at the time. A hard track to get around, and he did it. It was only a third mile, like 13-degree banks on it. And it's a really flat track, and it's narrow, it's like a paper clip. But anyway, Kyle went out there, he won the race. He beat him by a daggone straightaway. And the car was not really that great of a race car to have on the track. But anyway, it really spoke volumes to us. And we talked to him a little bit over in the tech shed while we had him over there for the post-race tech. And he went to leave that evening, and of course, Denny kind of ticked off with win his late model race, and went to leave that evening, and he made a point to stop over there by the third turn wall and jump out and jump the Jersey wall and come over here and thank Tommy Lee and myself and everything for having him out there, and what a great time he had. And I'm sure it was a great time for him because of all the rigmarole he probably was going through in the Cup Series, just to go home and find his roots again and put on an expedition race for fun and for a charity. So he won that one. He came out for the following year. They held it again at Southside Speedway, and he came out and won again, and made it look easy. And I got to give Kyle Busch some credit at the time. He made it really look easy. Well, we were kind of joshing around over the tech shed after the race and everything, talking to him. And I told Kyle Busch, I said, you done won 2 more late model stock car races at Denny Hamlin's home track than Denny ever won. Well, he couldn't believe Denny Hamlin never won a late model stock car race at Southside Speedway, his home track, but Denny never did. And Denny's spotter, he was in the race as well, driving, and he was a local driver that raced the Southside many years. And it was Curtis Markham, or Bubba Markham, what we call him. And Curtis, I think he ran about 6 that night. Curtis had a great time running and everything. And Curtis won 2 championships at Southside. He won championships up at Old Dominion Speedway up in Manassas, Virginia. So Kyle looked at Curtis. He goes, I done won 2 races. And then he was standing there and he goes, how many races you went out here at Southside? He goes, I don't know, maybe 50 or so, something like that. And he looked at Denny and he goes, Kyle asked him, he goes, how many races you ever won at Southside Speedway in a late model stock car? And needless to say, that did not make Denny none too happy. Well, Kyle took that little story and that information that I'd given him in that text shed, and he carried it over to Richmond because they always ran these showdowns during the spring race over RIR. He carried over there and he picked on Denny Hamlin all weekend. In fact, Darrell Warchuk made reference to the fact that Denny Hamlin had never won a race at Southside Speedway in a late model stock car, and Kyle Busch had won 2. So funny little story. He picked on Denny, and I'm not taking that away from Denny. Denny was a local driver, and I do watch racing every now and then. I pull for him, and I pull for Josh Berry, another individual I dealt with in that tech shed. And Josh is a great guy too. But like I said, it's kind of neat, you to be able to look back and see stories and reference to the individual that Kyle Busch really was. He got one persona around a race car, and another persona as a human being. And he was a great human being. Don't let nobody kid you. Like I said, it was quite a shock yesterday to find that out and everything. And it's not unusual for race car drivers to come across as jerks, because everybody wants to win and stuff and everything. And you might think they're bad attitudes. And, a lot of the greatest race car drivers that you'll ever meet, local short tracks or, cup racing, anything like that, they may come across as a jerk, but in real life, they're great individuals, and they just, I don't know, man, they lose their mind when they get about 6 foot of a race car and become a maniac sometimes. But like I said, Kyle Busch, we're always going to have that question, sort of like some of the other ones that went before their time, what could have been, I know you struggled here at Children's Racing, and all racing you have ebbs and flows of who's doing best in racing in the local short track. I've seen it happen that where somebody comes out and wins 25 wins one year, and the next year he can't win anything. Then he comes back again the following year. So, I don't know if it was Children's cars and their technology might be slipping a little bit. And, Children's will either up their game or they'll fade away like Petty did, Petty racing. But like I said, it's a great loss. It was a shocking when my nephew sent me the message that Kyle Busch died. I was like, ain't no way, But like I said, just want to share my thoughts about it, and a couple stories with you about my interactions with him. And Joey Logano was another one that when he come out there, he was just first getting started. Then he was over in the tech shed complaining that Joey was going to shake hands with everybody in Chesterfield County before he left that night. But like I said, they were just, they're human beings, and, we look at them as superheroes, and sometimes we develop an attitude towards somebody that they're a jerk or this or that or something like that, and they're really not like that in real life. I had nothing but great things to say about Kyle Busch, with the interactions I had with him. And that's just my thoughts on this whole situation. Y'all have a great day. It's a rainy day today in Virginia here, but y'all have a great day and take care of yourselves, and keep Kyle Busch and his family, his kids and stuff, everything, and your thoughts and prayers. And with that being said, tie-dye, pick her out.